Hey, what's up, guys? It's Elmer Brown Enriquez, your host of Artistic Visions, the show where we like to go in-depth with young artists at OCAD, talk about their art, what they like to talk about in their art, and what they would like to talk about in their art. In today's episode, I got a very special guest for the first Grad X episode, Lou Rose. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, it's a little slow day. It's a little rainy. You can't see, but it's a little rainy. It's a little gloomy, but it's a nice chill day for me. Yeah. You know what? Let's just go straight into it. Who are you, and what kind of art do you usually make?
Well, I'm Lou, and I usually make quite experimental mixed media type stuff, enmeshed with like a bunch of different materials, performance, sometimes ceramic, wood, painting. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that one thing I noticed about your art is you never shy away from a medium. Like, you are willing to play with it in a performance, or you're willing to create something out of just another material that maybe you haven't played with before, or materials that you are familiar with. So that's really awesome. And yeah, let's just go into this piece that you have that you're presenting for Grad X, Rubble Lipstick. I know you told me that it has a longer name. I don't know if you want to expand on that, but what would you like to say on this piece?
Well, basically, this piece has many different iterations. It's quite a modular piece that it's more of like a small moment inside of a universe or a world. So Rubble Lipstick is kind of this emotional environment of kind of an enigma in this world. And basically it's a space for people to come and enter the world, and the world is my little mud cake world, I call it that. And so Rubble Lipstick is basically like the crux of mud cake, so like the core of what mud cake is. Yeah, that's basically, I think, a pretty good way of describing it.
Yeah, and some of the images I saw beforehand, not that you sent, but ones that were posted looked amazing. And, I actually want you to expand a little bit on what we're seeing here on this image that you sent to me.
Yeah, well, this is actually a never-before-seen photo.
An exclusive.
Exclusive, just for you, Elmer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so basically, we were doing a shoot to kind of do like a movement piece with my work. So I did a lot of like wearing my work and exploring this really cool warehouse space. And then I really kind of embody a lot of my work. So I really feel like it's kind of like I want to wear it, I want to eat it, I want to So when we were in this space with this specific photo from the shoot, it was basically kind of me becoming this mud cake glob. And you can see there's like a pillow right next to it that's also a part of the installation that I took from a larger one, and then I kind of put it and hung it and then kind of was interacting with it. And yeah, I think this photo is so intense.
It is absolutely ethereal, I'll say that. Like, the way the light just bounces off of you and the piece, oh my, yeah.
Yeah, I know. The lighting was insane. This is all just natural lighting too. So
wow.
It was like
wow.
so insane.
That skylight just is the biggest MVP of this whole thing.
Right? It was so, so I definitely, Allah. So basically this is just kind of a still from some short films that are, a part of my part of Rubble Lipstick, but this is just kind of a still from it. Because I have like some film work that goes with it, then an installation, then performances, and painting. So there's just like little bits that all kind of come together to create this world, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think the idea, because when you talked about being a part of Grad X, one thing I was wondering was what would you be doing, because you have your hands in a lot of different ways you can create your art. And the way you went about it, where it's like you are creating your own world where things make sense, even if a person who doesn't not belong, but like who hasn't visited that world, they would be like, oh, okay, I see why this is maybe included or why this is meshed together with another thing. And so I love that the fact I'm really excited to see what you have like fully planned out for this and the short films. But from the stills I saw, like just that isolation and just that focus on you and the piece, I think it like really starts to help the audience like wonder what is the connection between you and this piece. Why are we looking at these things in conjunction with each other and instead of like a separate thing? Or what does it mean?
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see like the full picture of it, this full world that you're building. And like I was gonna say, what do you think we can expect? But I think you kind of hit that, like with the performances potential.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, it really depends on kind of my mood and where the piece takes me. So it could be performative type thing, or it could kind of morph into a different direction. I kind of let it morph naturally. And so initially I wasn't even going to have any film parts, but then I found, a friend of mine, Audrey, showed me this space, and I was so inspired by the space. And I was like, oh, we need to do that. We need to do something in here. And so then all this film stuff came through, that I had no plan of doing at all. And so it really depends. But we will see. We'll see. I'm hoping to have fun with it. That's the main thing, is just to enjoy and have fun with it. And even though it is based on kind of, intense emotional turmoil, I like to play in that.
I mean, yeah, like it's I see that your art is you. You're the way you control your art. It's because of how you feel and what your ideas say and dictate. I think because you have that heavy feeling, you see such a natural progression in your art in any kind of way where it can go into any different direction. Like you're saying here, like you could have just stayed at photography, but you have this idea of where maybe you want to do performance, but that doesn't even necessarily have to be the end product.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just kind of another moment and kind of what my emotions are driving me to do that day, really. Because, sometimes I wake up and I have no interest in creating any physical artwork, and I just want to use my voice and create sounds. And then the next day it'll be like, ripping everything up and like being like, fuck everything. So it like really depends. And not making sure that I don't put any like restrictions of what I can and can't do, which is really difficult. And you just get so, distracted. I get distracted so easily by like everything.
Yeah, but like, within those distractions, you start understanding a little bit more what the piece can be, right? So that's what I noticed, that, just because it might not be that straightforward idea, that doesn't necessarily mean that that direction isn't the way to go. Like,
exactly. And I think it's interesting to do something that, you didn't expect, or you didn't plan, and you have no idea what the outcome's going to be. That's so intriguing and it's so exciting. And I think, it also, comes with having a really hyperactive mind of like having 18 bajillion ideas. And then you're like, okay, I actually have to focus on something. And then, you have to make sure that your brain, like my brain, doesn't freeze with all these crazy ideas. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I'm going to move on to my next question. Going to be more focused on what kind of messages do you usually talk about, and maybe what message would you like to try and tackle on in future pieces? I know we have this amazing piece that's still developing, but, what are some ideas maybe that you want to try and include in the future?
It isn't really a question that I'm really able to answer, because I don't really know what is going to happen in the future, like where this work or other work is going to take me per se. So it's hard for me to say like what I want to touch on, because often what I want to touch on, I don't end up touching on it, and I go in a completely opposite direction. So it normally is shown after the work is created what I'm touching on and what I want to touch on, because it normally just shows in the work, and it's like, oh, subconsciously I knew what I wanted to touch on. So yeah, I mean, the question was, what do I want it? It's a hard one to answer.
Yeah. No, I mean,
It's hard to answer.
I do think like that's fair because I think with the way you work, it's very workflow, and you when you get into that flow state, you just work with it, and then afterwards you're like, this is what I kind of tackled during that time I was working with that piece, or even if that idea that you maybe want to talk about this doesn't work out, like it might have hints of it and it transforms into another topic. So I think that's totally fair. It's not a clear-cut answer, like especially with art, like you don't obviously know everything with your art.
No, and I don't go with a plan. I think planning for me is like it makes no sense for me because it's just not the first thing that I'm drawn towards. Obviously other people, it's like plan, but I think there's so much beautiful stuff in like the chaos and just the woo, and then it kind of just all kind of comes together naturally, so, and you just half the time it's like I don't even know what it's gonna come to until I do it, until like the day of, and it's like, oh wow, okay, so I do normally have like plans of like ideas and that I've drawn down, and then that just like I just let that live and then just keep going.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my next question actually is going to be, what or who inspired you during this creation of your thesis work?
Well, I'm so inspired by like immediate surroundings and what I can see. So first of all, it was like a lot of just materials around me and the scrap bins at OCAD, so inspiring to me. And then obviously like fellow studio mates, a friend of mine in painting, Megan Brophy, she does like really incredible paintings that in like a similar fashion to me, and I found that really inspiring because I don't find that I've really met many artists that work in kind of a chaotic space the way that I do. And so that was really, really inspiring and pushed me to keep going the way that I do work. So really a lot of the people around me, a lot of the materials, there was quite a few artists that I did find that resonate with me so much. Olga Shablykina, so Ukrainian Austrian artist, and creates insane pieces out of like painted textiles and makes a lot of soft sculptures. So while I was making my work, I also stumbled upon her work as well. And I was like, whoa, it's similar to mine, I think material-wise, but it's like approached so differently, and the colors and, so it was just so really, really cool. And they're really big and exciting. There's a few others. Yu Wang, who I also found on Instagram, creates these crazy, amazing, almost like alien-looking cocoons.
Whoa, okay.
And they just hang from the ceiling. I mean, that's just one aspect of the work that I saw. And it was so beautiful. I think it's made out of latex and plastic, and it looks like skin. Oh, it's so cool.
That's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I was so inspired by when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh. So, a lot of,
Quite a lot of like sculptural ideas in there, like for sure. Like I can see that you're mixing it with other mediums as well, with with yourself, with performance.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool aspect. Now I wanted to give it a little throwback time. How would you compare your art from when you first started at OCAD to now?
Well, when I first started at OCAD, I had only been really creating stuff, I think, for maybe 2-3 years beforehand, because it was kind of something I discovered later on in life when I was about like 18. And so I would say my work, I really sometimes miss the work that I made back then, because it was so just me in my basement, and I didn't have any education in anything. I didn't know anything about artists. I didn't know anything about artwork, really. Like I hadn't studied art history. Not that I really know anything about art history. I'm like that good.
I couldn't tell you anything from that class.
But I was just in the basement, and obviously I was mentally in a very different space, but I was exploring so much with materials and really what I had around me, and there was no no rules. Not that there's any rules now, but I know them. And so sometimes they can be difficult to push away. But it was really just me in my basement. I would say my thing has grown as I've collaborated a lot more with artists, and I've been able to meet people that I can actually connect with mentally and creatively, which I never had before, which has been really important because it's made me feel a little bit less insane. And so, yeah, I feel like really that, and I'm exploring a lot more with different materials and kind of just pushing myself to go beyond what I've done already.
Yeah, the limits that you've already explored.
Yeah,
right now, right?
yes.
So, no, fair. It sounds like, it was like you at your, not purest, but like just whatever came to your mind and you just did whatever you could.
Yeah, and like it was definitely very lonely, and it still is lonely, but it was lonely to a point where I didn't have anyone that I could connect with to talk to about that, who would understand it in that way. And so now I can have other people that we just can share that.
Yeah, that they have these different perspectives on art, right?
Yeah.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a good moment. It was definitely pretty pure because it was definitely just raw emotions of like, what is going on with my life? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That was just all being thrown up onto stuff.
For this final big piece,
Yeah.
No, I totally, I think that's definitely an important part, that it is hard to create stuff and like not be able to share it with someone who is able to like see it in that artistic way. Because if you just share it with your, I don't know, like if you share it with your parents, they might be like, what the hell is this, But share it with someone who's in your class or a peer, they could give you either criticism or notes or just their thoughts on what they think is good about the piece, what they think works, what they think is, needs work or something. So I agree with that. And you know what? I think we're going to hit the final question of the interview, sadly. What is some advice you would give to your first year self?
I would say make friends with people in the studios and become comfortable and just walk in and become comfortable in them, because that the more you use them, the more you will get out of the school, and really just go and make stuff, and don't be afraid to just go and ask questions. Yeah, just really throw yourself in, kind of. But yeah, definitely try to make friends and be friendly to the studio people and go and explore them and explore the materials.
Yeah,
and stuff.
100%. Yeah, because those tools and those resources are for us at the end of the day, and I will say I am definitely still afraid of like even touching those things, because there's so much moving parts to it. But the only way to learn is to get used to it and to actually touch, like interact with these like machines. And so I definitely agree. It's a resource for everyone to use, and getting used to it is just gonna further your own art, whether it be in a different sculpture, installation, or even if you're using it for a photography like project, you can
like just explore with it, because you have no idea what you're gonna end up really connecting with and being like, oh wow, I had no idea I really enjoyed this material. So I love that answer. I think that's very important, especially at OCAD, when you have these resources open for exactly.
you. Lou, thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we end off this episode, however, is there anything you'd like to plug, promote, or put out there for the world to know?
I mean, I have Grad X coming, obviously. I also have a screening for some of the mud cake videos sometime in June. Haven't decided on dates yet. Also a group exhibit at the end of May at 1313.
Oh, look at that.
Called Agglomeration.
You're pretty stacked up for this.
I am. I know. I'm going to be stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there also an Instagram people can find you at?
It's at Lou_Roses for my Instagram. And that's that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time, and I hope you had a good time as
Yeah.
much as I did.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, no, don't even mention it. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, and thank you for watching this episode of Artistic Visions. I cannot wait to see you guys very soon. Please go to GradX and do not miss all the amazing art. Don't miss Lou's art because it's gonna be crazy. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and take care. Have a good weekend, or general day. Bye.
Bye.